So it's a bit cliche, but I realized that I've never actually introduced myself on here since my name is in my channel name. But hello, my name is Kristen, and that's relevant to today because I'm going to be doing the Get to Know My Taste book tag, which is all about getting to know me. So I might as well introduce myself first. This tag was created by Mari over at My Name is Marinez and Sam at Thoughts on Tomes. I will tag them down in the description and leave links to their original videos for this as well. And I was really excited when I saw that they had created this because I have been absent from BookTube for a couple of years. I'm dipping my toes back in, and this seems kind of like the perfect way to do a little reintroduction to myself, where I'm currently at with my reading, my taste, etc. And there are about 15 questions, so without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. So question 1 is, how do you rate books? Give a quick rundown of how you do your star ratings. Great question. Let me know when you find out. I am joking, but I have recently, as in like the past several years, had a lot of difficulty figuring out my rating system. I enjoy star ratings, I use star ratings, I've just been struggling lately, so I have been trying to get better at really describing how I feel about a book and my opinions on a book instead of just relying on the star rating. So as for my star ratings and what they mean, 5-star is of course amazing, perfect, beautiful, I loved it. I will say it has been a bit of a desert here lately, and by a bit I mean a lot. I'm working on a video on that topic right now. I haven't given one of these out in a very long time. 4 stars means the book was great, probably missing 1 or 2 things that would put it up into the 5-star. 3 stars is a book that I liked. I think of this as kind of a solid book. It's a good book, I liked it. 2 stars, and this is where I differ from a lot of people, 2 stars for me is that it was okay. I cannot stress enough that 2 stars for me is not a book I disliked. 2-star books are fine. The way I think of it is that 2.5 is the direct middle of 5. So a 2.5-star book, and by extension a 2-star book, it's fine. It's okay. When we get into a 1-star book, that is anything from I disliked it to I hated it. Mild dislike, hatred, disgust, they're all in this 1 star. And then if you see a book that I haven't rated on Goodreads, that's not a 0-star rating. I don't give those out. It takes me a while to rate things. So if you see no rating, that means I just haven't rated it yet. Question 2. How do you approach reviewing books? What's your review style? Are you analytical, emotional, casual, or structured? I'm typically not someone who has a structured list of things that I'm judging or looking for, like with the Cawpile method. As a very smart, brown-educated man once said,
I've been navigating with just like cardinal directions and vibes.
When I write a review for a book or discuss a book in a video, I'm almost always just focusing on the aspects that most impacted my reading experience and most stood out to me. Probably the best example of this for me is that if I read a book and the writing doesn't stand out as particularly beautiful and it also doesn't really impede the story, it's likely I won't even bring it up at all in a review, simply because the other aspects probably had a much larger impact on my reading experience than the writing did, and they therefore have a much larger impact on my overall opinion of the book. Question 3. What's the book that made you a reader? Whether it was your first favorite or the one that got you hooked, what book started it all? I really don't remember a time that I wasn't a reader. I am truly a lifelong reader. I learned to read at a very young age and never stopped. I practically lived at the library as a child. I practically still do, both here in my home and at work. All that said, I think my first definitive favorite book as a child was Black Beauty. If you couldn't tell, I was definitely a horse girl. The other one that was a really big deal for me was All American Girl by Meg Cabot, because that was my first favorite book that felt like it was no longer a children's book. It was still a YA book, and that wasn't really a term that we used yet at that point, but I was moving on from children's books into more adult favorite books. Question 4. Do you have a genre niche? Are there certain niches you gravitate toward, or do you read widely across genres? Honestly, it's kind of a yes to all of the above. At the moment, I think my reading is mostly split like 50-50 between novels and manga, with some like nonfiction sprinkled in. In terms of traditional genres, I'm kind of all over the place. Mystery is probably my most read genre at this point, but more than like the traditional like fantasy, sci-fi, etc., I tend to get really into specific niche tropes, and those tropes tend to exist within and across genres. Some of the niches that I'm really into are things like murder mystery at a school. I also love death games, magical realism and surrealism, BL romance, and then truly sprinkled in everywhere there's some fantasy, some dystopia, some sci-fi, some horror, some paranormal, some lit fic. I read a lot of genres. So to boil it down, the three kind of cores of my reading are mystery, murder, and manga. Question 5. Do you generally prefer character-driven or plot-driven stories? I mean, ideally a book is a combination of both, right? But I think if I were to look at my favorite books and then really focus in on the ones that have stuck with me most, they're probably largely more character driven than plot driven. I think this is also why I tend to enjoy series more than standalones, simply because I can get really, really sucked into characters and really invested in them, even more than the plots that are stringing them along. Question 6. What's a book you love so much that you don't care if others don't like it? What's that one book you love enough for everyone? Honestly, I do think this is kind of just my general opinion toward my favorite books. Like, truly, I don't care if someone dislikes a book that I like, and I don't really bristle at a good faith, genuine criticism of any media I like. That said, of all the books that I love, I do think the one where I'm most likely to say that's so fair is The Bone Season. Like, I reread The Bone Season a couple of years ago and definitely could recognize that it read as very of its time. And I also get why a lot of people don't necessarily love the romance plot in the series. I love it. It's fine if no one else does. And I still haven't read book 3. I'm gonna get on that at some point. Question number 7 is kind of the opposite of the previous one, and that is, what's a book you love so much that if someone doesn't like it, you know your reading tastes don't align? The book or books where a difference of opinion is a strong indicator of different reading preferences. I'm not sure that I really have like the perfect book for this one. I think that the clearest indicator of different reading taste would truly be if you are a big historical romance reader. I'm not your person. That is not my genre. Same with historical fiction in general. I dabble in it occasionally. It's really not my thing. Romance sometimes, but it's one of my less frequently touched genres. All that said, there is one book I absolutely love, one of my favorite books of all time, that can be pretty polarizing, which is rare for me. And when I see someone who did not like it, I just fundamentally don't understand. And that is The Starless Sea. For me, this book is just like, the girlies who get it, the girlies who don't. Like, genuinely, anytime I see a negative review of The Starless Sea, I almost completely just write that person's opinion off. I'm like, oh, they're objectively wrong. They just fully didn't get it. Like, truly every other book, I can accept criticism on it, but for some reason with The Starless Sea, I'm just always like, respectfully, you're objectively wrong. Question 8. What's in your trash pocket? What are some books, tropes, or themes that you know are bad, but you love them anyway? This is essentially their replacement for like a guilty pleasure, because we don't have to feel guilty about enjoying the things that we enjoy. And my toxic trait is that I will always have a weak spot for that Jace Wayland archetype. Any character that's like a snarky, brooding, quippy, very like early 2010s YA coded love interest character, I probably love him. Famously, one of my favorite characters of all time is Sam Lloyd from the lovely Diviners series. He's basically one of many in that archetype, and I love him deeply. In that same vein, any character ever that is like Magnus Bane coded, they are my favorite character in literally any media ever. Question 9. Do you have any deal breakers in books? Something that, if present, immediately turns you off from a book? Okay, so this one is a bit more serious, but a major ick for me is in books and just in media in general when a female character is sexually assaulted, and especially so if it is done just clearly to show how bad the villains are. Like, for some reason it happens a lot in very death heavy media, whether it's like a death game or a horror book or movie. Like, I knew what I was signing up for here. I knew I was signing up for media that was very murder heavy. You don't have to go out of your way to show me why these people deserve to die. And even if you have to do that, It doesn't need to be assaulting a woman every time. There are other ways to show that people are evil. Honestly, it kind of comes off as that like Community meme for me where it's like, I can excuse murder, but I draw the line at sexual assault. Another one that really gets me going is when characters do and say like really morally reprehensible things and it's just like never unpacked. And we're just, as the reader, supposed to start rooting for them again for no reason, or maybe because something bad happened to them in the past to make them the way they are. Like, I read a manga last year that tried to present itself as a found family kind of story, and it did this, where one of the friends in the friend group did something really terrible to another one and just like never apologized, and they moved on, and we're supposed to root for this found family. No, I don't. I actually hate you, and I want you to get far away from the person you just assaulted. Question 10. What's a strong opinion you have about a book released within the past year? Whether it's overrated, underrated, or just a take you need to share. So full disclosure, I read approximately 5 books that were published within the past year. So I don't have any super strong opinions, but I will share the strongest opinion I have, or perhaps the most controversial opinion that I have. So The City and Its Uncertain Walls by Haruki Murakami came out in November, and I liked it better than Hard-Boiled Wonderland and The End of the World. For context, both stories are told in dual narration, and one of the narratives in each book is almost identical to each other. And Hard-Boiled Wonderland was published back in the 80s and is kind of one of Murakami's most revered works. So therefore, a lot of people didn't really like The City and Its Uncertain Walls as much as they liked Hard-Boiled Wonderland, but I liked it more. I think that Hard-Boiled Wonderland was able to bring the narratives together into a more cohesive single story, but I found The City and Its Uncertain Walls to be a warmer, more cozy story, and because of that, I ended up liking it more. I think a lot of people found it very meandering and potentially a bit pointless, but that's just kind of Murakami in general, so I'm on board for that. Question 11. What do you look for in writing? What makes a book stand out to you? Is it prose style, themes, voice, structure, or something else? Once again, a great question. I wish I had a coherent answer to it. I think the best answer I can give is that for me, the best writing is writing that does not get in the way of the story the author is trying to tell. Like, the best writing to me supports the story, like, almost to the point that I don't even notice it, if that makes sense. I will say, one little hot take that I do have when it comes to writing is that I don't mind a bit of an info dump when it comes to world building. Like, yeah, sure, it's preferable to trickle it in a very clever way, but also, I'm a nerd. I enjoy learning about lore, so if you want to tell me the lore of a world, I'm sat. I'm interested. I want to hear it. Question 12. How do you decide what to read next? Do you plan ahead? Do you mood read? Follow external factors? Etc. I've tried so hard to be a planner, and I just am not. As with the theme of almost all the questions so far, I'm a vibes girly. I'm a mood reader. Back around Christmas, I really got in the mood for Agatha Christie, and I reread 15 Agatha Christie books just because it sounded cool. And now I haven't picked up a book in a few weeks because nothing has really grabbed me. In her own tag video, Mari talked about how she really struggles to do the like currently popular content, like the structured reading vlogs of like, here are the books I'm gonna read. And I feel that so hard because I love that content. I think it's so much fun, and I always want to make that content. And I just cannot stick to a TBR to save my life. The only external factor that really affects me in my reading and that I do try to pay attention to is library checkouts. I check out books from the library. I check out a lot of audiobooks via Libby, and if I don't read it in the time frame, it will get returned, and I might be 150th in line to get it again. Question 13. Where do you get inspiration for your booktube content? What sparks your video ideas? Other creators, trends, personal reading experiences? So I am just popping back in from a while away, so it's still a little bit in flux, but I do feel like it's a little bit of a mixture. For example, I'm not someone who's like just gonna hop on a trend because it's a trend. But if it's a trend that I already kind of participate in, sure. For example, solving an Agatha Christie murder mystery in a video. Obviously, I want to do that because I love Agatha Christie, and when I read her books, I am trying to solve it. Same things with things like tier lists. I do tier lists all the time for fun in my free time. Why not make a video out of it? At the moment, I've got several video ideas bopping around in my head, and they're all kind of a mixture of personal experiences as well as inspiration from other creators. One that I've been meaning to do for ages is rereading some of my absolute favorite books to see if they hold up. Another one that I am wanting to do soon is I have been in a 5-star drought for quite a while, and I really want to just like throw a Hail Mary and make a video where I try desperately to get a 5-star read in that video. So that one's one that hopefully I'll be doing soon. Right now, a lot of my ideas are stemming from the fact that I'm trying to like reevaluate the books that I have read and loved and reevaluate like my taste in books and what I pick up, and really trying to just read a 5-star book for once, man. Question 14. If you could make any book go viral right now, what would it be? A book you think deserves more attention and why? So I don't think I have like one book in particular, because I do think I have kind of generic tastes when it comes to like my absolute favorite books of all time. Like, they're not books that people would be shocked are 5-star reads for me. That said, I do think this is a great opportunity to hype up some absolutely excellent manga, because I feel like manga does tend to be overlooked a little bit. Like, obviously there are tons of people in the book space reading and talking about manga, but it never really hits that like book talk level of popularity. It's not like the book talk girlies are reading the manga, except maybe Spy Family, which got really big recently. So I'm gonna hype up some of my favorite manga series real quick. And I'm going to skip over Death Note because that's kind of a really obvious one. We all know that's my favorite manga series. And now I'm about to show you 2 manga series that I have mentioned many, many, many times, but they're worth mentioning nonetheless. Erased and Orange. I always recommend these 2 series in tandem because they have a lot of similarities between them. They're both big tearjerkers. Be prepared to cry when you read either of them. They both have a very strong like found family element and a time travel element. In Orange, our main character is a girl named Naho who's in high school. She gets a letter from her future self telling her that this new boy named Kakeru is going to join her class, and that she needs to watch out for this boy, with the implication being that something bad might happen if she does not. The friend group in this story is so lovely and so wholesome and so selfless. I love these characters so much. I tear up just thinking about this story. I love it so dearly. It's also a very succinct series. This is the first bind-up volume and there are only 2. And then there's Erased, which follows our main character, who is this like 30-year-old down on his luck manga artist. And he has this very unique time travel ability where if something bad happens in his presence, he keeps cycling back in time until he can undo it. So if he witnesses like a car accident, for example, he keeps looping through time until he's able to prevent that car accident. But then one day he witnesses something really big and really bad, and it sends him all the way back in the past to solve a series of disappearances of children from his small town when he was a kid, with the implication being that they are somehow linked to this really terrible thing that happened to him in present day. And once again, this just features a very wholesome friend group who just does the absolute most for each other. Both of these series just make me weep. And then the last question, question 15, who are some booktubers with reading tastes similar to yours? I'll be so for real here. I have a small handful of booktubers that I watch with some level of consistency, and I mostly watch them just because I enjoy them, and often our reading tastes actually just don't align very much. And then outside of those few, I don't really think I could claim to know anyone's taste well enough to say that they are similar to mine. So if anyone has any recommendations for me based on what I've said in this video, please let me know in the comments and I could go check them out. And I'm also definitely going to be checking out the playlist that they made for all of the Get to Know My Taste tags, so I can see if anyone in there has some similar taste to me that I can follow. So that is it for the Get to Know My Taste tag. I'm not going to tag anyone specifically because I don't know who I would tag. If you are watching this and you want to do this, congrats, you're tagged. I think this was a very fun kind of like reintroduction to who I am and what I'm doing here on this channel. as if I know the answer to either of those. Like I said during one of the questions, I am working on some fun reading vlog type content. Like I also said, I'm bad at sticking to TBRs, so we'll see if any of those get done. But if you are interested in seeing those, if they eventually do get done, go ahead and subscribe. Hopefully those videos will be out expeditiously, whatever that means for me. Like the video if you liked it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!